Good morning, Niner Nation. It is January 2nd, and this is the morning after. What we saw yesterday was the San Francisco 49ers going into Las Vegas and playing the Las Vegas Raiders, formerly Oakland Raiders, formerly LA Raiders. Now they are the Las Vegas Raiders. That was a really hard fought game. If you watch the whole thing, it was it was a really good game for the Raiders, but they thought that they were going to win. And Nick Bosa, at the very end in overtime, forced a bad throw by the quarterback of the Raiders, which resulted in an interception by Gibson. He took it down to I think it was like the 12-yard line, and then there was a penalty, and they took it further another 5 yards, and they got into the uh, 4-yard line, and then from there, Robbie Gold came in, kicked the game winner. Now they have a chance to secure the number one seed in only this scenario. If the Eagles lose, they will secure the number one seed if they beat the Arizona Cardinals. So if they beat the Arizona Cardinals, they will secure the number one seed in only this scenario if the Eagles lose. So Philly, they still don't have their quarterback. He's still not in there. But this is what happens when you play later on in the year. Well, last year, which was like 2 days ago, and you're trying to secure positions in the playoffs. So in this scenario, if Philadelphia loses, then the Cowboys will win the NFC East, and if the Vikings lose, which they already lost, so um, they're going to be the third seed. So I don't I don't know how all the scenarios worked out, but um, I think that San Francisco has a good chance of securing the number one seed. Now, what's the difference between the number one seed and the third seed? Number one seed, you will have a bye week, and then you will have a home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So for the San Francisco 49ers, that's a really good outcome for them because you're going to have home field advantage. You get to rest your players. And I mean, some of the Niners players got banged up yesterday. That was a hard fought game against the Raiders. You're talking about from the Raiders just kind of like took it to them. They took it to them yesterday. And they had a shot to win it. I mean, geez, that quarterback came in and he showed his stuff. And then you had the running back, Josh Jacobs, running like crazy. He was doing his thing. And then Devontae Adams. I mean, what more can you say? The guy is he's just a really good athlete, good receiver. And the defensive line, they weren't pressuring a lot. The Raiders' offensive line did really good. And their pass protection and their running schemes were working really well against that number one 49ers defense. So as I was reviewing the videos and going over it, it's kind of crazy that the Raiders put that much points up on them. And man, yardage wise, that's the most yards the 49ers gave up this year. Um, it was just, man, the Raiders was just going crazy. It was it was crazy. So there was a lot of fans out there, a lot of fans, 49ers fan in Vegas. I mean, there was a ton of red, a sea of red actually. So I'm watching it too again to see, and this has been a crazy time. So I think the um, Grant Cohn talked about the secondary as being the weakest spot on the 49ers defense, that number one defense. And, you know, they did some playground runs yesterday, you know, off the cuff, just being able to get the ball out and get into their playmakers. So they were street balling out there. The Raiders were, and the 49ers, man, they gave up a ton of yardage and a ton of plays that were like things that should have been sacks or should have been takeaways for the 49ers became big plays for the Raiders. Also, if I didn't mention before, um, Nick Bosa didn't even get a sack yesterday. But that pressure when he took that tackle right into Stidham yesterday and forced that errant pass that was intercepted by Gibson, he's got to be the defensive player of the year. And if we go into the playoffs and he's got at least against the Cardinals, if he can get like two more sacks or three sacks, he should be the defensive player of the year. And what if he goes into the playoffs and just like go crazy? It's just like one of those things. He should be the defensive player of the year. He is the best player on the 49ers, bar none. There's no other player like him. And what he does and brings to the game is just crazy because he is, um, and he should be the defensive player of the year. I mean, they gave him an all pro this year, but last year he should have been an all pro last year, and he should have been the comeback player of the year last year. I mean, holy heck! After a knee injury, and then he comes back in and does what he does. That's just that's just it, man. He's a great player. All right, so rundown on the game from what I saw yesterday. Uh, the the 49ers gave up a lot of plays on defense, and Brock Purdy he threw his first interception since that Miami game, um, but first interception for him as a starter, and you can tell that um, he wasn't rattled at all or shaken up by it, and he looked like a veteran football player. You wouldn't think that he's a rookie, but he's doing really good things, and you can tell that he's a lot more what we call mature, or his game is more polished right now as it is, and I have a really good feeling that if he continues to play like this, you know, get the ball to uh, the right people. There was a lot of misses that he had yesterday. There was a lot of open people, but man, he got pressured pretty good, and that the Raiders came out to play yesterday, and I had some doubts. I thought they were going to lose, but they came through at the end. I mean, if it wasn't for that pressure by Nick Bosa, we're not going to be sitting here talking about the 49ers trying to secure the number one seed. They have secured the second seed, but they would still, um, we wouldn't have to talk about them trying to get that number one seed from Philadelphia. So the Eagles are going to hold on to that number one position if they win out. But if they don't win, then the 49ers will get that number one position, number one seeding. And that it means a lot because if you look at what Kyle Shanahan said yesterday about seeding and everything, and how that uh, 2019 and for them to have that number one seed and be able to go into the Super Bowl, knowing that they they had the number one seed, they got to the Super Bowl because their players got the rest that they needed, and that's what he was talking about. And so, if in contrast, look at last year. What happened last year? They traveled to Dallas, beat Dallas. They well, first of all, they went to Green Bay, beat Green Bay, went to Dallas, beat Dallas, and then had to travel to LA. They were on the road all of last year for the playoffs. They almost beat the Rams last year to get into the Super Bowl. But if you watch that game, when they came out to the end of the fourth quarter, they looked like some tired dogs out there. They were tired. So the difference between the number one seed, the second seed, third seed is travel. Have your guys rested. They'll be at home, playing at home. And uh, the 49ers, no doubt, they are, they can go on the road. They can travel. They travel well. Their defense plays awesome, except for yesterday. So besides Kansas City and the Raiders and what the Raiders did yesterday, some of the things that we have to look out for is exactly what when I was listening to Grant Cohn, he was talking about the secondary. For some reason, they are letting big plays happen, and they need to adjust and be able to understand. I mean, geez, if you have Devontae Adam on one side and you have another guy that's on the other side, what will happen? This is what will happen. Devontae Adam come to the right. Okay, they're gonna make it look like play action and try to give it to the running back. The running back comes through. Your safety is gonna bite. Why would you even do that when you have your linebackers all pro Fred and Dre Greenlaw can get to those guys? They need to understand, go to the side that needs help the most, which is if they have a receiver that's out there that can just gobble up the yards and I mean Lenore, bless his heart, but boy, that boy was getting torched yesterday. So the safeties is gonna do their job, get over there, whoever it is, if it's Hufanga or Gibson, they need to understand. All right, maybe you can throw some head fakes in there, like pretend like you're gonna go and help out on the run and get back out and help out on that outside cornerbacks because a lot, I think there a lot of stuff that's happening right now is that they're biting too hard on the play action, and as you can see from the game yesterday, they were getting eaten up. They were just getting eaten up all over the place. So, hey, welcome, welcome. This is the 49ers Raiders the morning after and what happened during the game. The Niners got their butts whooped for most of the day yesterday. And I'm not just talking about in every um, category, I'm just talking about players came out to ball for the Raiders, and they were balling. Um, so a lot of people got the score wrong. I got the score wrong. I predicted 32-10 that the Raiders wouldn't even put up more than 10 points against the Niners, and they put up 34. So it's crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy. All right. So on seating and everything, they just gotta win out. They just gotta win out. Brock Purdy did his thing, but Christian McCaffrey, man, that guy was running like he was possessed yesterday. He was running like crazy. I mean, when he came out and ran over a couple of guys, and he went through the meat of that defense late in the fourth quarter. I'm telling you, Christian might be a small guy, but boy, his burst and power. It's no wonder um, he should be in the Pro Bowl. Well, these people are, I don't know what they're thinking, but he should be in the Pro Bowl. He is the best running back receiver there is in the league. There's no other receiver that can do what he does. And I'm telling you, he gets out there on the flat, or he even goes out wide out, and you think a linebacker is going to keep up with him. It's not happening. And not even a safety will keep up with him. He's going to smoke them all day. Got to give it up to Brandon Ayuk. That boy was balling yesterday. He made a lot of critical catches. Um, what can you say, man? He's definitely the 49ers best receiver this year. Um, so he just makes that receiving core just more difficult, and it's going to even get more difficult for anybody that they face when um, Debo Samuel comes back. And you have Debo, you have George Kittle's coming on strong too. He's gonna be killing it. He's gonna be throwing up his little first down thing and touchdown, and he's gonna be doing all of that. So, um, and I gotta say that the offensive line, they did pretty well after one of the 49ers right tackle got hurt yesterday. Um, but they did they did all right. They did okay. Not as good as you'd hope them to do, but they did pretty good. Anyways, and timeout. Check this out. Okay, I was just looking at one of the highlights. Um, oh, this is the one where Brock Purdy threw the interception. If he would have just threw it just a um, little faster, if he would have got that ball out a little faster, I think that George Kittle would have got that catch about 5 yards in more. He would have got that catch. So I just so at that point, the Raiders get the ball. They're up 24-21, and I think yeah, their guys are just balling. Waller was making catches. Jacob went over 2,000 yards yesterday. And if the Raiders don't want him, then he can come to the Niners. I wouldn't mind a 2,000-yard back coming to the Niners. Just imagine if they had that guy. And Jacobs is a good runner. He's really good. But McCaffrey's good. But I think another one that the 49ers have running back wise is going to be really good JP, I think he's going to be really good next year. And even Price is going to be a little bit better next year. I think those guys, the running backs that we have right now, would be really good. Um, Kalia Davis, that's a guy that I really would like to see in this Arizona game. Wouldn't you guys like to see Kalia Davis come in and show what he's got? At least get um, some playing time before the playoffs, because that defensive line, man, they are going through players, and the other players are stepping up big time. But I want to see some of Kalia Davis this week. Also, I want to see if they can just get Poe to come up off of the practice squad and even come up and play some reps on the offensive line. Either that or switch him over. Shoot, put him on a defensive line. Warren Sapp, he was a tight end, and they switched him to a defensive tackle, but he's a Hall of Famer, so you can do that. Get some of those guys switching over positions, because I think that they have the talent to be able to switch over and be big time. I mean, they do it all the time for quarterbacks to switch over to tight ends, just like you see over there in New Orleans with what's his name? He played at BYU, and yesterday Taysom Hill. He had a game yesterday, and look what they did. So going forward, those are some of the guys that I like to see more touches. I also like to see Jordan Mason get more touches also, just to get him more in the flow of the game, because I think they could do that against the Arizona Cardinals, where they can just not sit their starters, but bring the other players along and give them more minutes and more touches, because I think that's what would happen in the playoffs. If they have some guys that have injuries, they could come in and contribute, but they don't have to come in there and be like, oh shoot, I forgot my assignment. I didn't have more time. No, they can come in there and they can go crazy. Sorry, there's a glare coming in from the window from outside. So the 49ers go into, oh no, they're at home this week because they played in Mexico City, and that was Arizona's home game. So we're going to get the San Francisco 49ers at Levi Stadium playing against the Arizona Cardinals. And hey, they just need to win that, have the Eagles lose, and they will secure the number one seed. I have real confidence that the 49ers, no matter what happens, they will end up in the Super Bowl. And whoever they play, that secondary has got to get shored up on their communications and not bite hard on the play fakes, or what's going to happen is they're going to see what happened yesterday. They got torched for many yards, and that quarterback looked like he was Patrick Mahomes out there throwing for all those yards. It was just crazy. So they just got to shore that up and make sure that the communication between the safeties and the cornerbacks is there. So that way they're not going to get torched by Kansas City. And yeah, they have some problems playing against running quarterbacks, but they could get the job done. That defensive line for the 49ers is freaking. They're going to be clicking all cylinders come playoffs, because Armstead, he's a monster. Kinlaw is coming on strong, and he's only on his, what is it, second game. since his injury, so he'll get there. Uh, I saw Kevin. He did some really good things yesterday, and he's coming back from an injury too. Drake Greenlaw, hopefully um, he's not too. He didn't sustain a lot of injuries. I got to go back and look at the report from the coaches press yesterday. I didn't get to watch that. Also, we'll have Debo back, so he'll be at full strength, and then we'll see where it goes from there. It's all right. Hey, everybody. It's good to chat with you guys this morning, the morning after the game of the Raiders and the 49ers. And you know who won. Well, thank goodness for Robbie Gould that he was able to redeem himself and kick a field goal and make it. Even though it didn't happen in regulation, it happened in overtime. But that's what playoff and championship caliber teams do. They find a way to win. Till the next one.